As usual, the second order on the agenda is the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I would ask Pastor Coyle to please lead us in the invocation, followed by Dr. Grossnickel to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If I can ask everyone to please stand.
Pray with me, please. God of wisdom, we seek your wisdom tonight as we discern what is best and what is good for this community. God of grace and mercy, help us to be people of grace, speaking graceful words, and help us to find ways to apply your mercy to those in this community who so much need help. God of glory, you are high and lifted up, and yet you reveal yourself to us even in the innocence of a child. And so grant us humility tonight. Help us to listen and to see the needs and the concerns of our neighbors. Help us to listen and to see clearly and well, and help us to attend to their needs as we attend to your grace. We pray this in your name as we live by your grace. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address the council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes. The Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or employees, as well as individual personal appeals, are not appropriate for the Citizens Forum. The Citizens Forum is now open. If you want to address, please come in, state your name and address for the record, and write it down.
I'm Louise Mosley. I live at 3915 Shannon Drive. I'm here representing breast cancer awareness. I asked the downtown fountain to be lit pink. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I was told I could have 2 weeks pink and the other 2 weeks would be orange. I could not accept that decision. I felt I had to speak up for the ones who have died and for the survivors of breast cancer. The priorities is off balance, breast cancer or the Pumpkin Fest. That is what brought me before you today. The Pumpkin Fest is during the day. It would not interrupt the Pumpkin Festival. The pink light would shine at night. It would complement each other. I'm asking to light the fountain pink for the whole month of October and every October from this date forward. The light shines to remind people to get their mammograms. Early detection saves lives. 1 out of 8 comes down with the disease. Paris has the highest rate per capita than Dallas. Men also get breast cancer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mosley.
My name is Clint Spencer. I live at 860 33rd Street Southeast. And I would just like for it to be noted that when my item on the agenda comes up, I would like to speak, please.
Thank you, Dr. Spencer. Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jim Bell, 720 39th Southeast, Paris, Texas. I come tonight because I see the de-annexations on the agenda again, and I want to add something. We've talked about, water services, sewer service. I ran into a deal where I sold a house at 500 Old Clarksville Road. I had a hard time getting part of that done. We were in the city limits. No cable services, no TV, no internet services, and this house has been annexed in the city for many, many years. And I understand, and I come to find out, that we have a contract with Suddenlink. Where your city limits goes, they go, but they are not following that. And it is one of those things that if you're going to have services, even the people that are contracted with the city should be providing those services. And I do know that we have a situation, trash and water and so on, that are paid for and are actually given to people but provided by different people. But here's a situation where we have a contract with a supplier for the city. And it caused a little consternation, and we did overcome it, and I did affect the sale, but it was just a teaching point to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Mr. Godwin, can we just look into this issue with the cable, if they're providing services to the end?
I don't know the facts of the franchise agreement.
If we
so
can just look into it?
We'll find out,
Yeah,
sure,
thank
absolutely.
you.
Dr. Hashmi, Mayor Hashmi, rest of the City Council, my name is Charles Keys. I own property at 6240 FM 1508. I delivered a letter to you on July the 23rd expressing my thoughts on this annexation. I stated, I would like to explain a comment I had in that letter. I stated that greedy politicians was the reason we were annexed. No offense to the present council, please. But to me, if you take something from someone, have no use for it, have no plans for it, are not going to pay for it, and take it just because you can, that is greed. And that is proved by your service plan that they filed at that time. That happened to us in 1998 and 1999. We were annexed in the city in lieu of our objections. Now that was greed. The only change we saw after being annexed was that when we went to town, we no longer saw the green city limit sign. And each November, we got 2 more tax bills. When we flushed our toilets, turned on our faucets, we got the same services we had before we were annexed. If you follow the annexation and disannexation policy you have in place, you will disannex us for failing to provide full services that the rest of Paris enjoys. However, if somehow you don't, I want to go on record requesting that we go to the top of the priorities list for full services when you start spending that $45 million for infrastructure money. If I was the council, I'd kick us out of the city and put that $4 or $5 million somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there's nobody further wanting to address the Citizens Forum, the Citizens Forum is now closed. We'll move to the next agenda item, and that is the proclamations. The first proclamation is for the National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Excuse me. Whereas the National Breast Cancer Awareness Month is celebrating its 30th year of educating women about the importance of early detection, and during this time, mammography use has doubled and breast cancer death rates have declined. And mammography is the best available method of detecting breast changes that may be cancer, and breast cancer deaths could decline further if all women aged 40 and older received mammograms at regular intervals. Whereas in recognition of the fact that the National Breast Cancer Awareness Month has played an important role in increasing women's use of mammography and reducing breast cancer rate, I, A.J. Hashmi, Mayor on behalf of the City of Paris, Texas, do hereby proclaim as October as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and urge all women and their families in Paris, Texas to get the facts about mammography. If I could please ask Ms. Mosley to please come forward and receive this program.
He's coming.
Did you want?
There are 2 other proclamations, and I'm going to read both proclamations and then ask Mr. Mackey to please come forward. The first one, whereas it is important and right for all Americans to remember and honor those who served in the military of the United States, and to set aside time to think specially of the trials, tribulations, and sacrifices of those who were held as prisoners of war and those who were, and in many cases still are listed as missing in action. And in the United States, National POW MIA Recognition Day is observed across the country on the third Friday of September each year, at which time Americans are encouraged to take the time to remember those who were prisoners of war and nearly 2,000 who remain as missing in action, as well as their families. And the U.S. House of Representatives passed a joint resolution designating the National POW MIA Recognition Day, which in 2013 shall be observed on Friday, September 20th. And the Lamar County VFW Post 3990 encourages all citizens of the county to remember this important day and honor those who sacrificed so much. Now therefore I, Mayor A.J. Hashmi, do hereby proclaim Friday, September 20th, 2013 as POW MIA Recognition Day in Paris, Texas, and call on all Paris residents to use this day to reflect and honor those who served and sacrificed on behalf of our great nation. The second proclamation, whereas the National Veterans of Foreign Wars was founded on September 29, 1898, following the Spanish-American War and the Philippine insurrection, and has thus served American military veterans for almost 114 years. And the VFW has been instrumental in establishing the Veterans Administration, creating a GI Bill for the 20th century, the development of national cemetery system, the fight for compensation for certain Vietnam and Gulf War veterans, and the passage of a new GI Bill for the 21st century that ensures expanded educational benefits to the America's active duty service members. And the VFW has fought for improving VA medical services for women veterans, and the VFW helped fund the creation of the Vietnam, Korean War, World War II, and Women in Military Service Memorials. And the nearly 2 million members of the VFW and auxiliaries annually contribute more than 8.6 million hours of volunteerism in their communities nationwide and provide over $3 million in college scholarships and savings bonds to students. And whereas the Lamar County Post of the VFW was chartered on December 13, 1944, and it has ably served veterans and the community at large for more than half a century. Lamar County VFW Post 3990 encourages all citizens of the county to remember veterans and the roles they have played in the creation and protection of our nation. Now therefore, I am Mayor A.J. Hashmi, in grateful appreciation to all local veterans and to Post 3990, do hereby recognize Sunday, September 29, 2013 as the birthday of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and call on Paris residents to use this day to remember and honor those who have served so very well overseas during times of war throughout the history of United States. I would please ask Mr. Mackey to come forward to receive this.
In celebration of the birthday, at noon on Saturday at the fairgrounds, we will have a big birthday cake from DFW, so the public is invited to come and join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next agenda item is the consent agenda. Any of the council members have any questions on the consent agenda? Mr. Wright.
Number 7.
Yes, Mr. Wright.
When water distribution, water distribution, the expenditure for Drake Construction. I thought he was a street paver and not a water pipe layer.
Those projects were done under the auspices of that work crew that was put together to do water and sewer related projects. There was a memo to the council back in January that outlined the projects that would be done with that money, and that was listed in that group of projects. But you're right, they would not normally show up as a water distribution project, but they were presented that way to the council back in January.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Jenkins?
I have no questions.
Ms. Lancaster?
I have no questions.
Dr. Grossnickel?
No questions.
Mr. Frierson?
No, sir.
Ms. Drake?
No, sir.
Can I have a motion on this item then?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Next, we move on to the regular agenda. If I can request to please move item 20.
I make a motion
and
to
21.
move item 23 up to number 1 and item number 21 up to number 2.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. The first presentation is mine actually, and what I wanted to do was to just bring the residents of the community up to date on the progress that we have had and some of the shortfalls that we have faced as we have gone over the last couple of years. This is not a reflection on any particular individual. It really is addressed to the council itself, because most of the points that I'm going to talk about is us as a council and me as the mayor rather than any particular individual. So I've broken it down into certain aspects, and I want to clearly say that we've had some successes, but we certainly have had our share of shortfalls and failures as well. And I'm going to address that under each of the headings that I've written down. So the projects, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can discuss, but I've picked out a certain number of projects. Projects that have been undertaken initially were, number 1, the permitting system improvement. 2 was dilapidated homes. 3 was auction of properties. 4 was infrastructure improvement. 5 was general cleanup. Number 6, we took up some issues with ADA compliance. 7, we discussed Lake Brook property rejuvenation. Number 8 was our housing policy. Number 9, Coxfield Airport projects. 10, PEDC policies and procedures. 11, the health department. And number 12, a thing that we have really not discussed quite yet, but we will discuss tonight, is the drug problem in the city. We'll start with the with the permitting system. We had a meeting with the people who were concerned with contractors, etc., and the goal was to implement an electronic permitting system. And I want to just say that MyGov permitting system software has been installed. The system to get permits on the internet, however, is still not been done yet. There were bugs in the system which are being worked on with the help of some of the local contractors, but I'm assured that the system will be in place and it will be functional. The system, once fully functional, will not allow a non-licensed or non-insured contractor to pull a permit. Other things which the system will have is online payments for fees currently are being charged at 5%, and this at times can become a large amount, so a flat fee is being worked on in the electronic permitting system. The other thing that is being worked on is to incorporate all fees into one fee rather than being charged multiple fees for different things such as driveway permits, water taps, sewer taps, etc. I would request the city manager if we can please take an urgent look at all of this and make sure that our electronic permitting system with online permits can be installed at the earliest. I've picked out a few permits that have been issued lately. There may be some shortfalls in some of these numbers, but I just want to emphasize. Commercial remodels year to this date were 74 compared to last year, which were 53. New commercial construction, there were 12 permits issued compared to 6 last year, and new home permits were 16 compared to 7 last year. The biggest shortfall that I feel that we have had is that we have discussed a housing policy. We started on it and have not proceeded any further in the form of abatement policy. We had lengthy discussions, and what ended up happening, we got involved in the nitty-gritty and stuff, and the net result was we have really done nothing as a council to bring the policy back to the table. And my encouragement to the council would be that the policy needs to be placed back on the agenda for an action at an early time. As far as the dilapidated structures progress is concerned, we started on this process, and in the year 2012 and 13, a total of 105 homes have been demolished, and another 10 were demolished in 2011 and 12, after we allocated the $400,000 towards this project. We currently have $298,012 in our account available for demolition. There are 29 remaining work orders and 21 service removal pending. There still exists a large number of homes as we drive by in the city, and I want to get an update from Mr. Talley as to the progress of identifying more demolitions. I also want to bring to the attention that I recently saw a list of properties, which I'm going to ask Mr. Talley to help me with. It has listed a bunch of properties, and there are notations on it, but there is no addresses. Now, I'm not sure if this is just my copy of it or whether they are not listed. So it is really, I don't know how we follow these if the addresses are not listed. So if we can please see and check whether this fault is with my copy or whether there are some other issues with it. Again, on downtown buildings, we started working on it, and we really need an update on how far we have gotten with this process. Otherwise, until the next building falls, we'll again still be talking, and then till a new catastrophe happens, nothing will change. I also would like to know, since the yellow tape has gone around from the different structures, are we still identifying these problems and securing these buildings so that the people don't get hurt in the case of a collapse? And I do fully realize that we as a council have not allocated any money towards correction of this problem, and at some point the council needs to take note of this and address this issue. I'm going to take a little break from this presentation just to give a certificate of appreciation today, and that is from the council. Actually, as I said, we have taken down about 105 homes. It has not been done in ages in this city, and our numbers, if you go back to the city of Dallas, are more than the number of the city of Dallas that the demolition process that has taken place. Now, there may be a number of reasons for that, which include the fact that Dallas has their own crew, and that crew is really not involved in demolition through summer months. But I do want to really appreciate the services of Mr. Talley. And from the council, I want to say that we express our sincere appreciation to Mr. Talley, the supervisor of code enforcement, for your dedicated efforts in demolition of dilapidated structures within the city limits. I have a certificate for him, so if he could please come forward and get it. Now, I would like to say that in some other aspects, code enforcement needs some improvement, and the council will address that with you. But thank you for the good job. The next thing that I wanted to discuss was auction of properties. There was initially a lot of success, but again, we almost came to a standstill. Last week, however, we have made some progress, and I'm happy to say that there are over 600 properties now identified for foreclosure. There was a meeting with Attorney Tracy Pounders, and a new methodology is being tried to speed the foreclosure process by many months. I still feel that there should not have been this much of a lag time between the last auction to now. I do, however, want to thank the city manager for paying quick attention to this problem and addressing it. Our goal should be to hold a public auction every 3 months until we get through with these properties and bring them back on the tax roll. And I'd like the council's approval on it when we put it as an agenda item. Currently, there are 38 properties left we did not sell in the last auction, and we need a new list of auctionable properties to be published and brought to the council's attention at the earliest. An update on the infrastructure improvement. First of all, the efforts of the CIP committee are appreciated in this regard. I and the city manager had a meeting with the water and the sewer department, and it was quite an awesome meeting. The staff was absolutely great in identifying areas that were really not well looked at initially, and now we have come up with a fresh list of about 46 projects throughout the city which have to be worked on. The list will be presented to those who were on the CIP committee in the next few days, and we'll all be pleasantly surprised. In future, there is a lesson to learn here, and that is when we do these projects, the actual people from the city staff that are called to do the work day in and day out must be involved, since their knowledge is far better than any other consultants. And we really didn't do it this time, so it was one of our shortfalls. The next thing in this is the bond process is the award of the engineering contracts. The specs of the projects will be written by the engineering firm that gets hired. The initial offerings have been posted, and a number of companies are working on it. In the next council meeting, we will be discussing and possibly taking action on this item. We expect that by March of 2014, we will start to see some dirt moving, and I want to forewarn the community that there is a price to be paid for improvement, and that is patience and tolerance. There will be inconvenience to residents, but hopefully we will all work to make it short and sweet. Next, I want to address the ADA issue. The city is moving forward with issues with compliance and coming into ADA standards. New curbs are being done so that it is user-friendly for our disabled citizens. A lot of work still needs to be done, but it is underway, and in future, any new construction undertaken will be in compliance with ADA standards. An update on Lake Crook property. The process has begun, and the plans are going through the Planning and Zoning Board. It is a slow process, but needs to be finished relatively quickly. We've had a group visit the city who's interested in a large project around the lake, incorporating what already exists, and what I mean by that is the Archers of Christ and the Gun Club, etc. But until the former plans are ready, they will not be approached. And I've talked to the PEDC director. The PEDC is going to be developing the city statistics and presentation to be presented to the interested parties. I also want to assure the people that this is local government property and will not be leased to anyone without due process, and will be monitored under state and local legislation guidelines. I'm going to address the housing policy again. I briefly touched on it, but I want to say a few words again. We've had, briefly touched on this. Under permitting, the long and short of it is that other cities are moving faster on this, and we have lagged behind. We are no further along today than we were 10 months ago when we started discussing this. At the rate we are progressing, we will remain the same, and that is if this is our rate of progress. We must decide and take action on this subject. Not only that, we must monitor our progress after we have taken action. Otherwise, very shortly, our surrounding cities will be way ahead of us while we sit here and discuss our options. I do want to say one thing, though, that I've looked at the statistics from Reno, Sulphur Springs, and some of the surrounding cities. We are not doing too bad, but still the number is very little. 16 is what I had shown for new housing permits for this year for the city. Reno, I think, had about 7 in some of the surrounding cities. At least the numbers are a little bit different this time compared to what they used to be. Coxfield Airport. We are fortunate to have a newly paved airport There was some interest on part of few of our residents to rejuvenate and make it into an income-generating facility. This has again died down because each time we discuss, we get into petty issues and lose sight of a broader picture of improvement. We have just gone through the budget process, and it is quite clear that the airport is not making money. We have discussed this in the past, and we are always told that there is a comprehensive plan, but where is that plan, and how far have we gone with its implementation? And why are we at the same place where we were 2.5 years ago when we started talking about it? Really, this is a very sad situation, and we would appreciate some real input on this matter. We do not want to be in the same situation next budget time. Some sort of comprehensive plan needs to be implemented. And I understand that these are not easy issues to be dealt with. There are all sorts of FAA regulations. However, we should ask ourselves, are we going to be limited by them for the rest of our living lives? Or are we going to move forward in some concrete way to fix this problem? I would like to ask Ms. Lancaster to please take the lead in this and bring back to the Council definitive steps towards its rejuvenation in the next 90 days, be it gas delivery, infrastructure support for the areas, or whatever else is needed. As far as PEDC, I'm very pleased to say that after all sorts of issues that have been brought up, finally we are making some headway, and emphasis should be on improvement of the organization. It is not over until corrections are made and until we have followed it to see that the results of corrections were improvement. Mr. Carr is going to be giving a presentation of some of the initial recommendations that he is going to be taking to the PEDC board towards correction of deficiencies. He is not going to come up with specific numbers today, partly because of the fact that he does have them, but he is not presented to his board, and he'd like to wait on presenting this to the council after he's gotten an approval from his board. I'm very pleased, however, to announce that in the next few weeks, a detailed abatement policy for businesses, which will be standardized, will be brought forth to the council, which is a joint effort on part of the city, county, and PJC, that is all the taxing entities, so that in future, there will be no issues on PEDC recommendations on tax provisions to incoming businesses. There will also be no involvement of the PEDC in home or non-commercial property tax abatement. This policy will be written, followed, guided, and monitored by the city under city ordinances. The next issue that I wanted to bring was the drug problem in the city. While we talk about health, safety, and quality of life for the residents, and while we look for economic, job, and housing growth, we must not forget a serious problem that exists and is on the rise in many, but particularly in our city. It is imperative that we start discussing ways to address it. One way come up with many answers, be it socioeconomic issues, be it the fact that it is a universal problem, or be it the fact that if you stop it in one spot, for it only to emerge in another spot. The bottom line is that we have a problem. If we want to make our city safe and desirable, we'll have to address this issue. I would like to ask Ms. Drake and Mr. Jenkins to please take the lead on this issue and come up with a comprehensive plan with Mr. Huntley to identify those areas with maximum problems and come up with solutions and recommendations with timelines that the city can adopt to curtail drug trafficking and usage in our city. This was a brief update. I want to thank all the council members for their support throughout this time. But as I said, I myself am a little bit discouraged with myself by the fact that there are certain issues that we have neglected, there are certain issues that we have tabled, and somehow or the other I feel that when we table the issue, it never comes back, or it takes too long for it to come back. So maybe in future, my suggestion is that when we are adopting policies, at least we should adopt some sort of a policy and leave room for correction and amendments so that at least something comes in place. With that, I'm going to end my presentation. If any of the council members have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next presentation. No questions? Okay. So we will move to item number 21, which is development of underserved areas in the city of Paris. I'm going to ask Mr. Napier to please come up for this. I had asked Mr. Napier and with some of the other council members to come up with some sort of a plan, because we keep discussing underserviced areas of the city of Paris. People are concerned, and we really have not done much about it. So Mr. Napier is going to give us a short presentation on what his thoughts are. Yeah, you can take it. You want the mouse? Oh, before you start, I do want to thank some of the people from the water and sewer department. Actually, I'm going to just call their names because they were absolutely superb when me and the city manager met with them. They really worked very hard on getting us the newer projects, and I would just like to take their names. Danny Edwards, who's the superintendent, Carl Wood, who's the water and sewer supervisor, Carl Johnson, Jerry Music, Mark Shue, Larry Sisson, Jamie Thompson, Baron Winters, and Jody Wood. So I want to thank all of them for their hard work.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dr. Hashmi asked you about looking at this particular area. I guess one of the first areas we'll be looking at is Airport Road out to Cox Field. The area you're looking at here on the screen, looking at the Southeast Loop interchange with Loop 286, US 271. You've got Morningside Addition, and then you can kind of see our existing water lines are in the blue color here. Just looking at a rough plan we kind of put together, looking at a potential water line is the dashed blue thick line that you see going out 271, crossing over, entering Airport Road, and connecting to an existing line that we have at the airport, where we currently get water from Lamar County Water Supply District at the airport. We've also identified all the residents along the route that are currently in the city. I believe there are a total of 49 in this area that could potentially benefit from that. And you can see the green stars. We've tried to identify almost everyone that we could through either aerials or actually driving out and looking at this area. The yellow lines that you see here are the lines of Lamar County Water Supply District. You can see the areas that they currently serve here on Cobb Ranch Road as it crosses here. And you can see they also get down 271, down FM 1508, which is Airport Road, and all the way up to Reno here. And like I say, the city water is on the east side here at the airport. Any questions on the potential water line plan?
Yes, I do have a question. When we were talking, you said that the water line issue is a little bit simpler compared to the sewer issue.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, what size water line are you talking about?
Well, there's currently this is at where Don Drive intersects Loop 286 up here in the left-hand corner. There is a 12-inch water line that crosses the loop at that location. So we at least be, maximum we'd be looking at would be a 12, probably a 10 or 12-inch line to get to the airport. And depending on when we do that, we would obviously try to look and see what would be possibly coming into the airport. Is the plan you earlier mentioned about Cox Field, what line would we potentially be needing out there, what sort of volumes of water would we be looking at or expecting to use at the airport, and that would play a role in the line size that we would choose.
My other question to you is, can fire hydrants be installed on these lines?
Most certainly.
Okay. And the third question that I have is, currently there are certain areas that are being supplied by the Lamar County. Can water hydrants be, the fire hydrants be attached to those lines?
We have talked to Lamar County about that in the past, and they did not have an issue with that last time we talked to them. We could address that with them again in their board. But in previous times, we have done that in certain areas. We've installed fire hydrants on Lamar County Water Supply District lines.
Okay. But in other words, what you're saying is that even if we do not attach it to them, conceivably, if there's a fire there and a fire truck goes, they can potentially take water from these fire hydrants if this line was there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all for me for now. Any of the other council members have questions on that?
That line length would be about a little over 3.2 miles to get out to there.
And without knowing right now of what might come at the airport and what kind of development we might look at the airport, what size line would you recommend at this point?
Probably a 12. I mean, just if we have to put it in, the difference between a 10 and 12 is not that much, so you might as well go ahead and pay for the 12-inch and put that in.
Potential cost?
Somewhere in the, I'd say, $1.5 million range and up, depending on, a lot of different factors, such as how far you have to bore underneath TxDOT roadways. Those prices go up, but I'd say give or take, $300,000 or $400,000 either way.
Okay, so somewhere between $1 to $2 million?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
The next area we're looking at, this map's a little more congested, as you can kind of see here. This is what it basically boils down to, a USGS quad sheet. And what that roughly means is all the red lines here, all the squiggly lines you see are contour lines. And those are elevation above sea level. And they're every 10 foot of elevation, they're offset. The area here in the middle of the screen, for instance, where a creek crosses under 271, that elevation is about 480 feet. And on the hilltop out here by Airport Road, you have an elevation over 550. So just in that short area, you have a 70-foot drop. So you can imagine what that does to sewer line, potential sewer lines in this area. What we've also done is the yellow line are separating drainage basins. You can see that all the blue lines are the creeks in this area, and you kind of see where the creeks come and cross 271 and Airport Road in different areas, and there's actually a creek cutting through the airport property as well here on the right-hand side of the screen. And these drainage basins also pose problems for, obviously building a sewer line, because, sewer, you need to flow downhill. Well, when you've got 70-foot drops on either side of that hill, that does cause a problem for installing sewer lines. What we did look at was using the same, all the same residents are looking at those areas. We had 3 potential spots for lift stations, and they're kind of highlighted there with the white dots with outlined with green that you see here. One there just to the left of where it says Clarksville, one here at the bottom of 1508, and one at the bottom of Cox Field. Looking at the number of residents in these areas, you've got approximately 8 people right here at the interchange of the loop in 271. You've got another 8 just west of this portion of Big Sandy Creek. You've got 3 in this area, 4 in this little basin, 6 in this basin, and you have 20 on this basin that flows into the airport. So looking at that roughly based on the numbers, if you were going to do one, the airport station would obviously be the lead one, because you could get the most people's sewer at that location. And as you can see here on the far left-hand side in green are the current city sewer lines. You can see they're quite a distance away from where we're trying to get sewer to these other places and to the airport.
Sean, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second. I have a question here. Potentially, if this was to be done, will this help the airport property be developed in some way or form so that there is infrastructure available? If you put up the lift station, that there will be infrastructure available. Also, infrastructure, both water and sewer, will be available to the airport to develop the airport properties.
Yes, sir. Anytime you install infrastructure, and I think most any developer would tell you, that is a definite benefit to know what services you have available. Not that we might do that in the future, but you have a plan for that and you're ready to look at installing that or doing that at that time. When you and I were discussing it the other day, what you can look at doing, because sewer being a little bit different, what you can do as far as a lift station is do a smaller lift station that's expandable by adding additional wet wells, therefore gaining extra volume. So you can start out, you're still going to have a large expense at first because pumps are one of your more expensive items, but you can add additional wet wells to gain volume and change out pumps as you need to as future development comes along. But as getting that there, having kind of a basis for that would be a big help. And also advertising, any sort of advertising for airport future potential development, saying that you have water and sewer available would be a big help.
And one other question that I have is, if this was to be done, it causes some extra sewer to go in our main line through on the loop. But I take it that the main line around the loop close to the Ford dealership and all of them are being changed anyway.
Those will be looked at when we look through spending our $35 million to replace water and sewer. Those will definitely be looked at. We know we do have a problem with the one at Southeast Lift Station, not quite on the screen here, but that's one we're already looking at having to revise, to change, or possibly upgrade, and this will be taken into account when you do that. Anytime you do that, you want to look at what other areas in the future you can possibly size for that to be taken into a lift station.
So in other words, if this was to be done, it will not cause extra problems on what currently exists, because that might be changed anyway with our $35 million bond.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
What would this expenditure cost?
This is extremely hard to say because looking at potential sites, looking at line locations, you're obviously, with looking at the bottom right-hand side of your screen here with that potential site, that's about 1,500 feet south of the terminal building. So you can imagine running a sewer line, you're having to run a gravity line down that far, then you're having to run a force main up, and potential locations, it's hard to even venture a ballpark for what that would cost. We haven't had long enough yet to make those determinations of potential sizes, or even, well, let me back up a little bit. One of the things that you need to determine is on a force or a lift station, what size force main. Well, that totally depends on how much flow is coming into that. Well, with 20 potential service lines, that would not be very much. So what you'd really be looking at for is some of your larger development coming into there. And with a large development, someone who is very water intensive on their usage, that would go up immensely and might make it, you get more return on your investment for installing a lift station at that time.
Like potential industry?
Yes, sir. Very much so.
Just a ballpark, though, what do lift station cost?
Just the lift station itself, you're probably looking around $300,000 for the lift station. Then you're talking about additional line cost, and we talked about the 3.2 mile line costing $1 million to $2 million. So you'd be looking at that for the force main, and potentially about half that for a gravity line.
So around about, I would say that $1 million to $2 million for water, and a couple of million for sewer,
if not a little more,
or $3 million. Let's say
closer
$3
to
million.
3, I would say.
Okay. So potential $5 million.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think that's a pretty good ballpark.
Okay.
There are currently 4 lift stations here, kind of on the top left-hand side of the screen. There's 2 in Morningside, 1 at Eastgate, and then the Southeast lift station, which one we've already mentioned that currently we're looking at upgrading or upsizing. But given that potential situation, this is, we think, one of the better outcomes, or at least it is a potential plan that we think will work for the development at the airport.
And if this plan was to be implemented, what time frame are we, how long does it take to implement this? Designing, et cetera, et cetera?
Designing would probably take, I'd say, no more than 2 or 3 months. Once you get an engineer in place, wouldn't take that long to do that.
And the construction will take whatever?
Probably about twice that long.
Okay. Do any of the council members have any questions for Mr. Napier?
Could we
Mr.
use the $10 million left over from the bond issue for this project?
It's certainly by the bond language it is allowed. Mr. Jenkins? Ms. Lancaster? Dr. Grossnickel? Mr. Fryson?
I don't have any questions.
You have anything else to present, Sean?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Thank you so much for your hard work. Appreciate it. It was a short time and really appreciate your work.
I'd like to thank my staff as well, Shane Grissom and Justin Oliver and Tim Moore for helping out on this as well, and Dave Daniels.
Thanks all of them. All right. So now we are back on our agenda. Item number 16 is next. Correct?
Correct.
Right, Janice? 16?
Yeah.
Conduct a public hearing, discuss and act on resolution. Before I go to that, can we possibly put this on the agenda for formal discussion?
The airport, what we just talked about?
Yeah, what we just talked about, so that the council has some preparation time and we can discuss the possible prospects. Item number 16 is conduct a public hearing, discuss and act on resolution authorizing the execution of Main Street sidewalk grant application. Mr. Napier, you're on the spot today.
We have a chance again to apply for the Texas Capital Fund Main Street Improvement Program, which we're looking at applying for another sidewalk grant from there. The maximum grant amount is $150,000. It does require a 10% match. What we've come to find out is those applying with just a 10% match don't have a very good chance of getting that. In the past, what we've done is had a 30% match, which has given us a greater opportunity to actually get those grants, and we've been successful in the past. We're not successful our last time in getting a grant, but we should get a few more points by not having won it last time. So we think we were very capable of getting this grant the next time around. You see on the screen here, we've got 4 locations we're looking at. On South Main Street between Clarksville and Kaufman Street, there is 100 feet of broken up concrete there on the west side and about 85 feet on the east side we're looking at replacing. On Lamar Avenue between 2nd and 3rd Street, there's about 195 feet. That's in front of the old YWCA and I believe Girls and Cake and attorney's office there that is kind of broken up. It's one more, John. Back one. There. And then the last area you see is on the screen here is beside the Parish Community Theater. There's about 100 feet on that side of the sidewalk. You can see it's quite broken up, and we'll be fixing the ramps in the back there as well, or proposed to. These areas we'll be looking at extending just like we have in the past with running electrical and adding the old period lighting down there as well in all these areas, extending that, as well as taking care of all the drainage, the overflows in these areas, getting those out to the curb as well. Here you can see this map showing those 4 locations. Be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Napier, the grant that requires the city to get, what, $45,000?
No, sir, it only requires 10%.
But your thoughts were to, if we were to say 30%, your likelihood of getting is much higher.
Yes, sir, it sure is.
So it's about 45,000?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Wright, any questions?
Yeah, you talk down at the bottom of the green sheet about businesses that have improved their property there. Are they in that area or somewhere else?
There are a few. I know the community theaters is constantly doing some work in their areas. The areas on South Main, we've had a couple of stores over there improve. The baby store, for instance, on South Main. And just here recently, the YWCA building has been bought by the candy store, and they're looking at moving into that building on Lamar Avenue, the old Parish News building.
Yep.
Mr. Jenkins?
No more questions.
Ms. Lancaster?
I think it needs doing.
Dr. Grossnickel?
Sounds like a good project to apply for.
Mr. Frierson?
No questions for me.
Ms. Drake?
Sounds good.
I declare the public hearing open. If there's anyone wishing to speak in support of this item, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. If there's nobody in favor, if there's anyone against who wants to wish and speak on this item, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. And if there's nobody there, then the public hearing is closed. I'd like to take a motion on this item.
So moved.
And the motion is?
That we authorize the execution of Main Street Sidewalk Grant application.
At 10%, 30%?
At 30% match is listed.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No, motion carries. Item number 17. I want to ask a question. On the budget item, can we put all of them together, or do we need to go individually on all of them? Other than the public hearing, obviously. Okay. Okay, item number 17 is conduct a public hearing on proposed amendments to the budget fiscal year 2013-14 for the city of Paris. Mr. Anderson.
Yes, the council had a public hearing on the original proposed budget on August the 26th, and tonight, in accordance with Section 51 of the Charter, it needs to hold another public hearing just on the proposed increases to that original budget. And this isn't in an action item, but just a public hearing item, so we need to do that first.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Wright?
No.
Mr. Jenkins?
No, sir.
Ms. Lancaster?
No, sir.
Dr. Grossnickel,
No, sir.
Mr. Frierson,
No.
and Ms. Drake.
No, sir.
I declare the public hearing open. If there's anyone wanting to speak in support of this item, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. If there's nobody speaking in favor, if there's anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this item, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. If there's nobody there, I declare the public hearing closed. Item number 18, discuss and act on ordinance adopting a budget for the ensuing fiscal period beginning October 1, 2013 and ending September 30, 2014. Mr. Frierson, is there a football match tonight?
Of course.
We're moving quite fast. Should we slow down?
No, you're fine. Please continue.
Mr. Anderson.
Okay, the proposed city budget has been reviewed and modified by the city council, and the appropriate public hearings have been held in accordance with the charter. And proposed budget as amended now awaits for the city council to formally adopt that through this ordinance.
Mr. Wright, any questions?
No question.
Mr. Jenkins?
No questions.
Ms. Lancaster? Dr. Grossnickel?
Nothing.
Mr. Frierson?
No, sir.
Ms. Drake?
No, sir.
I do have a question. As we had discussed on some of the contracts that we had allocated the funds, but we were going to bid it out, that is part of this?
Yeah, anything that's, we would be required to bid out, under state law, we'll bid out, yes, sir.
Okay, wasn't there something that we had discussed? That we were thinking that we'd allocate the amount in the budget, but it was to be bidded out?
Personnel services?
Yeah, personnel services.
The request for proposals went out 2 weeks ago, and those will be open Thursday of this
Yeah,
week.
but that's just part of
And
it.
that'll be on your October
Yeah,
14th agenda.
okay, all right, good enough. There was one other thing that I wanted to mention. I think we've used some of the money from for police cars, etc., from the capital improvement, and I think that amount had gone down. I don't have any problem with the budget, but I think in future, if we can just make sure that we allocate that to the police budget rather than capital improvement.
Okay.
With that, do I have a motion on this?
I make a motion, we approve the 2013-2014 city budget.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Thank you. That was a good job. Item number 19, discuss and act on ordinance fixing the tax rate and the tax levy and levying and ad valorem taxes for City of Paris for the year 2013 upon all taxable property within the City of Paris in conformity with charter provision and ordinance of the city. Mr. Anderson.
Okay. Now that the council has formally adopted the budget, it must set a tax rate to support that budget. And the proposed tax rate is .50195 per $100 evaluation, which is approximately 0.9 cents lower than the current tax rate.
Thank you. Any questions from any of the council members? If not, I'll take a motion on this.
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries. Item number 20, discuss and act on ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Finance to transfer funds from unencumbered appropriation balances to over-expended accounts for fiscal year 2012-13. Mr. Anderson.
Okay. We do a budget amendment ordinance each September where we go in where we anticipate certain departments will exceed the original budget, amending the budget to increase for those departments' anticipated expenditures. And what we normally do at the same time, we'll reduce the budgets of other departments that are going to come under their budget. And we're doing that again this time as outlined there before you. I can say that neither the general fund or the water and sewer budget in total is being increased, but we're just reallocating the funds of the original budget in order to cover the anticipated expenditures.
Any of the council members have any issues with this item? Any questions? No. I'll take a motion on this item then.
I make a motion that we approve an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2012-2013 budget.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No, the motion carries. Item 21 we've already discussed. Item 22 we will come to. Receive update from PEDC board member, Mr. Bruce Carr, on PEDC. Actually, it is really on policies and procedures. And I want to thank Mr. Carr for coming and enlightening us with this presentation. As I said before, he will not go into specific numbers today because he was kind enough to bring it to the council's attention before he has presented it to the PEDC board. So the PEDC board has, I want to make it very clear, they're the guiding authority. They have not approved this yet, but he's just going to give us the thought process that has taken place and what he has done to come to these conclusions. Mr. Carr.
Mayor Hashmi and council members, thank you for the opportunity to come before you this evening, provide an update on the work that's being done to update the processes and procedures that should govern the finances and other areas of the PEDC in a very effective manner.
Mr. Carr, can you please come closer to the mic a little?
Sure.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Thank you. What I'd like to do is as you're aware, Vicki Ballard and I have been tasked with the responsibility of identifying areas and developing procedures to help guide the PEDC in its daily operations. What I'd like to do is cover the process that we've used first, and then get into the status and some of the specific processes and procedures, although, as the mayor indicated, I will not delve into the particulars of them, just cover the areas and maybe impart some information about a 30,000-foot level. So, having said that, as I was looking at my notes this afternoon, I started to write down some action words, and I'm going to read these off to you because what it does is it demonstrates that we're trying to weave these items into our processes and procedures. But let me read these off to you. Proactive, minimize, reduce, authorize, analyze as in cost benefit, control, monitor, involve, comply, and flexibility. And there are probably some others that could be added. But as we began this process, we sat down and identified the areas requiring change. Now, to do that, we sought input from some businesses and industries in the community as to how they handle specific items. And while I'd prefer not to mention the names of those particular businesses simply because I haven't asked their permission, I think it's important that you know that we've tried to reach out to people that have been successful and had some experience in these areas. We then sat down to develop the processes and the procedures, and I'm pleased to report that we have a special called meeting for October 1, at which time we'll begin the deliberation and start the process of approving of the processes. The status to date, we've identified 16, and interestingly, as you identify these processes and start to work through them, all of a sudden something else appears, and so 16 becomes 17, which becomes 18, and it's an ongoing process, but I think that's an effective part of this whole exercise that we're going through. It'll grow. After time, we'll probably delete some processes because they're no longer needed, but we've provided a process for that as we work along. And then what we want to do is we want to review with the staff just what we've come up with to see how these processes impact them. And to date, we've drafted 9 of the 16, and we've reviewed 8 with the staff. None have been approved to date, but that process will start on October 1. The processes that we've identified, and I'm not going to touch on all these, but I'll make comment on a few. The authorized level of spending, it is to be reduced, or we're recommending that it be reduced, but we don't want to inhibit the ability for the operation to effectively do what they do. Credit card, we want to minimize the use, and in the past, the credit card has almost been a purchasing system. We want to get away from that and provide a more deliberate process with authorizations for the money that we're spending. Travel and entertainment, it's a necessary part of the PDC operation. In fact, it's a very important part of it, but we need to minimize the number of travelers and have controls or approval levels for different activities that are taking place in that area. Delegation of authority. From time to time, it's necessary that people will not be on site, or we may have board members that are moving. We provide for a delegation of authority so there's an orderly transfer of responsibility that's documented. Tracking compliance, procurement of services and contract, that is yet to be worked on. Developing prospect proposals. We want to do a cost-benefit analysis to determine whether a proposal is or a prospect is really worth pursuing. Some of them look attractive, but by the time you start to dig into them, you find that the expense is going to be greater than what you're going to get in return as a community. So it's evident that you don't necessarily want to be competing for all the prospects that are out there. Auditing operations. We think that a self-audit is a very healthy thing to do. So we're going to make provision for a self-audit with somebody from the staff and somebody from the board during the course of the year. This would be in addition to the annual outside audit that takes place of the PEDC. Budget of and chart of accounts, we have yet to work on that. Petty cash, tracking marketing expenditures, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in that area from two vantage points. Just how do you want to spend your marketing money, I think is one. The other is we have some limitations by law as to how much money we can devote to marketing. So we need to be able to effectively track that. Record retention, cash advances are other areas that we've identified. And then finally, with any good process or procedure, there ought to be a provision to be able to modify it at some point. Business changes, things are different, there's new ways of doing things, and there needs to be an effective way to change that. My experience in this area has been that once you have a procedure in place, that's the way you operate. It may be more convenient to do it some other way, but until you have, in this case, board approval to make those modifications and an effective date on it, you operate the way the process or the procedure states. So, in review, we've identified 16 to date. We've drafted 9. We've reviewed 8 with the staff, and we'll begin the approval process next week. Now, what are the keys to success? I think there are a number of them. First of all, we want to move expeditiously, and hopefully we are. We want to recognize that operations do change from time to time, and we've made provision in these suggested processes and procedure for updating on a timely basis and making those modifications that are necessary. A third item is establishing discipline and accountability. And too often we go about doing things, even in our daily lives, where we perhaps should have been a little more careful in the way we operated. So we're trying to make provision for that. And you can have all the processes and all the procedures in the world, but if you don't execute them effectively, you really haven't accomplished anything. So execution is a big thing. And I'd add one more to it, and that is listen. Listen to those that are raising the concerns. Listen to those with experience in the areas that you're concerned with. And listen to the folks that are being impacted by the processes and the procedures that you're developing. I have a few final thoughts I'd like to share with you, and then I'd be more than happy to entertain any questions that you have. The first thing I'd like to say is perhaps the biggest challenge we face in developing these things is the fact that you need to strike a balance between flexibility and control. You can be so rigid at sometimes that you actually turn an operation or an activity or task into something that's very inefficient. So we need to guard against that. As I've mentioned before, recognition that operations change, and we need to maintain an effective change process. And lastly, I'd like to take just a moment to recognize and express my appreciation and that of Vicki Ballard for the opportunity that Mrs. Clifford has given us. Rebecca has some unique experiences, professional experiences, and academic background in accounting and finance, and she's given Vicki and I a free hand to develop these, and that's a very difficult thing to do. And in my opinion, and I think you should be aware of this, it's a very excellent leadership attribute. And it's been, except for a few questions that we've asked, she's responded quickly, and she's offered an awful lot of encouragement in this process. But she's let Vicki and I run it, and I think we both appreciate that, and I wanted you to be aware of it. Now, I'll field any questions you might have.
First of all, thank you, Mr. Carr. I think personally I'll have some more questions when your final thing comes back to the council. Obviously, the intention, I don't think that of the council is to micromanage the board of PEDC. You know, you are at liberty to make your own set of rules. They do come back to the council for final approval.
Sure.
But the one thing that I think I've mentioned to you briefly before is the fact that whenever these expenses are applied, if they can be applied so that they can be clearly identified, when we mark them as new industry and old industry, they should be clearly identified as to what they were related to.
And I think that we'll address that with the chart of accounts and how we go about assigning these expenses. Thank you.
And the second thing I would say is, as you mentioned, there's not every project necessarily needs to be looked at, and you know, the PEDC board obviously has control over what to look at and what not to look at. But it would be nice to have a certain amount of money allocated for that project. Yeah, and I'm not saying that it should be written down in stone that you can't exceed or can't cut down, but to get some idea as to what the expense involved is in actually getting that project, and you know, a cost-benefit ratio or a cost-benefit analysis of any projects.
I think as we go through this, we'll be doing a lot of ROI analysis, just what do you get for the return on investment, and that's got to be a question that we ask with, not only with every project but also the activities that we participate.
Again, I thank you for your time, and thank you, Vicki, for your time and effort, and Ms. Clifford, and everybody else on the PEDC board.
Well, you're quite welcome. We'll look forward to coming back and presenting again soon.
Don't run away. We have other council members. Mr. Wright.
Yeah, it's difficult to comment about schematics, but at some point there should be some form of evaluation. Self-evaluation, and others will give you a free one.
Okay, fine.
Mr. Jenkins.
I appreciate the little information on the policies and procedures, and I hope they can be effective and do what's best for Paris, promoting development and growth.
Thank you. Ms. Lancaster.
What Aaron said is certainly my feeling too. We appreciate your hard work. And
well, thank you very much.
Dr. Grossnickel?
Seems like you've identified some good areas that can be improved upon, and wish you well in that endeavor.
Thank you.
Mr. Frierson?
Bruce, I don't have any questions. Just thank you to you and Vicki for taking time out of your lives to go through this and allocate some more time for this. And I really appreciate what you said about trying to measure flexibility and control, because so much of this, as we've talked about, every situation's fluid. And so it's really hard to put into words from the beginning. So I think you guys are on the right track.
Developing internal controls, I can assure you, is a love-hate relationship. It's very laborious and tough grinding through it, but you love the results once you get them in place and you're actually utilizing them.
Thank you. Ms. Drake.
I think everybody's pretty much said how I feel, and again, just like to restate, thank you and Vicki and the whole board, and the staff for being cooperative with the board as y'all go forward on this, and I look forward to the final presentation.
Well, the objective here is to be better going out than coming in, and I think we're well on our way to doing that for the community. That's the important thing here.
Thank you again for coming.
You're welcome.
Moving right along. Item number 24, receive presentation and report from Mr. Talley on progress of demolition of substandard structures and update on tax foreclosed properties.
Good evening, Mayor Hashmi, Council. I've prepared a short presentation to inform you of the progress being made towards the demolition of substandard structures and also update you on the foreclosure and sale of tax delinquent properties. I'll start with the progress being made on demolishing substandard structures. If you'll go ahead and look at the first slide here. Slide number 1 represents the progress made from June 2012 to September of 2013. 20 structures have been repaired or secured. 80 structures have been demolished by the city. 37 structures have been demolished by an owner or lien holder. There are currently 29 remaining work orders that have been given to our demolition contractor. 21 structures are awaiting service removals. Total number of structures that have been demolished as a result of the Building Standards Commission is 124. Of those 124 structures, 19 were demolished between June and September of 2012. 105 structures have been demolished during our current budget year. As you can see from the information on the right, of the cities that responded to my calls, we are second only to Dallas. They do have 212, whereas we have 124. We have demolished over 50 more structures than the next closest city, which would be Gainesville at 72. Is there any questions on the first slide? Okay. Oh,
Actually, I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
You know, when you drive around the city, there's still tons of property that is, now I'm not sure whether they have been marked to be demolished or not marked, and that's what the statistics that I was looking for. That where do we stand? How many total number of properties, at least in appearance, look like they need to be demolished?
As far as that, I can't really give you an exact number. I know that a lot of the structures that you're seeing, they are inhabited. Many of the structures that get turned into code enforcement, we do go check. There is someone living, in that structure. The fire marshal and myself, we're currently working on a process to try to vacate those structures because they are dangerous. There is some literature in state law that does allow us to do certain things. At this time, we haven't really perfected a process. We're going over different things because, as you know, that's a very serious deal. You're evicting someone, from their house.
Robert, my question is not on those properties that their people are living.
Yes,
but
sir.
I've driven around streets after streets after streets, particularly in West Paris, and there are properties that there's nobody living in them, and they look like they need to be demolished. Now, obviously, I'm not an expert on that. I can only look from the outside and see what I'm seeing. And that's what I'm interested in. Have we driven around each city street to identify this street has this property, and this property? That kind of a very detailed, thorough report is what I'm looking for.
Yes, sir. Myself and my 2 code enforcement officers, as well as the fire marshal, we do routinely drive street to street looking for properties. As you can see, of those properties that you're talking about, that could potentially be part of the 50 that are awaiting to be demolished, because our demolition contractor does have 29 work orders that are outstanding. And then we also have 21 structures that are awaiting service removals. Now then, of those 50, you still have to take into consideration that there are probably anywhere from 15 to 20 that they have not reached their allotted time that the commission allocated. There's also some that we are currently working with the property owner either to demolish or to repair. Some of the ones that are being repaired, when you drive by them, you're, oh, you know, this is terrible. But they are in the process of either pulling permits or getting, you know, funding towards repairing their property. And in those situations, the commission give a maximum of 90 days to repair. Once that 90 days is up, it can come back to the commission if they've shown a good enough amount of progress. They can be given additional time, or in some cases, their 90 days have ran up and it comes back to the commission and the commission has said, you know, you're not going fast enough. We're going to go ahead and demolish the property.
So in other words, you have a list of every city property, every street, every city property that is considered for demolition right now? Or
As of right now, yes. But now every month we'll go out and we'll look at, we look for more and more structures. Not only do I have the people that I mentioned before, but I also have the post office. One of my commissioners does work for the post office. Some of his postal route carriers, mail carriers, they look and try to identify structures also. We've got several councilmen and women who also will call in. But as far as a definitive number, no, it's a fluctuating number. We try to take anywhere from 10 to 20 properties per time. I think at our last meeting we had 9, and that was because I had to pull one of them because we had an ownership change.
Maybe as the council members drive around, make a notation of what we see, and that might help Robert, because at least in my view, there are certainly more than 50. Actually, quite honestly, there are more than 100, but I have not written them down. Next time I drive around in the city, I'm going to write them down so that we have a...
Robert, are the ones you're talking about that are on the list, are these the 4 pages that we have in our package?
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, there are, obviously I didn't count, but 4 pages worth of items.
No, but those 4 pages also have properties which have been demolished. Not all of them
Yes, that is correct.
So there are 4 pages, but
okay.
You know, 105 of them have been demolished, and 50 of them are pending demolition.
Okay.
So what I'm really
Yes,
looking for is things which are not listed on, but apparently look that way.
Yes, sir, and I would appreciate any help. that
We
anyone in the
understand you
community
don't
or
have
the
time to
council-
just keep doing that,
Yes.
but I think, you know, I'll start maintaining a list of wherever I go and I'll write it down. So that.
Thank you, sir.
Any of the other council members have any questions about this so far? Keep going.
Okay. Let's go ahead and look at slide number 2. Slide number 2 represents our expenditures and remaining funds for demolition. The city has spent $251,988 of the allotted $550,000, leaving us with roughly $298,000 of available funds. Broken down, each structure is averaging around $2,900 to demolish. Okay, is there any questions on this slide?
Anyone? No.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and look at the third slide. The third slide represents the current number of trustee properties within the city limits and the over 600 properties that have been identified for foreclosure. All of the properties identified for foreclosure are vacant lots throughout the city of Paris. We are currently trying to use a tax warrant to foreclose on these properties instead of a traditional tax suit that has been used in the past. This should cut the time to 3 to 5 months as compared to the 14 to 16 months it has taken in the past. We have chosen, or we have set a tentative date of February or March of 2014 as the first date of a foreclosure sale for new properties. This will coincide with the January to January taxation period from 2013 to 2014. Basically what that means is as they forgive taxes, if you don't, you try to do it right around February or March, because that previous year will be forgiven. The further you go along, you may have to pay some of the previous year's taxes.
Am I the
like I said,
only
that's
one feeling
paraphrasing.
hot over here, or is the room hot? Thank you.
And again, I'm paraphrasing that. There's also a possibility of having a sale of the previously foreclosed upon properties in December of 2013. This would be the earliest date possible to have a sale of this type due to the contract stipulations with our former tax attorney not ending until November 9th of 2013. Are there any questions on this one?
No.
Okay. The next two slides, the last slide here in particular is a sample map page of the 600 plus properties chosen for foreclosure. As you can see, this is Northwest Paris, North Main to 19th Northwest. All of the little yellow places you see highlighted are potentially properties that have been identified to foreclose upon. And like I said, this is only one of 5 map pages that we have created. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
I do appreciate it.
Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Talley?
No. Thank you, Robert.
Okay.
Item number 25, discuss and provide direction to city staff on application of disannexation filed by Mr. Dr. Spencer. First of all, I'd like to untable this item.
Make a motion to untable.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Now, Mr. Frierson wants to be reclused for this,
Yes.
so I'll take a motion to recluse him. I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
Second, you're going to stay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I think I need to as well.
Okay. I'll take
I
a mo-
request that I be recused from this.
Okay, I'll make a motion for Dr.
Second.
Grosnick.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Dr. Spencer, you wanted to say something?
Before the council considered my request, or before I read my prepared statement, I would just like to ask the council to consider my request as an individual request and not as one a part of a larger group. That being said, I would like to read my statement here. That to the City Council of Paris, in November of 2012, I filed a request with the city to be disannexed. The 3 previous requests for other properties were granted in 2012 based on a failure to provide services. Therefore, I followed suit as instructed by city employees. I was informed that as long as my request would not island or make a hole in the city, that it would most likely be approved as others had shortly before mine. My property consists of 2 tracts of land adjacent to the Wildwood State subdivision, and 2 sides of my property are on the border of the city. It's adjacent to similar property that was disannexed on January 9th of 2012, and another similar property that was disannexed on October 8th, 2012 for similar reasons. I'm requesting that the city consider my property using the same standards and requirements used to make the decisions about the property disannexed in 2012. My request was made in that time period, and I believe it should be considered as such. I realize that the city is in the process of making a policy to handle such requests. However, my request was made before this process began, and I believe that it would be most fair to consider my request based on the criteria used in 2012 than rather to continue to delay and postpone a decision while the policy is being made. That being the case, I'm requesting that the city allow my property to be disannexed based on the precedent that was set by allowing the property adjacent to me and the property similar to mine to be disannexed. The main reason I'm requesting this to be disannexed is because full municipal services have not been supplied, nor is there a plan to do so. The ability to provide services does not appear to be present, and I know that the city's current focus is on upgrading, replacing existing services. It's doubtful that the cost to run services to my area could be offset by revenue generated since it's a low-density area. Since the current residents have their needs met by the county or their own septic systems, they are not likely to be in favor of paying for full municipal services to be run to the area. I realize that the city is concerned with maintaining physical and logical borders that allow for growth and development of the city. The city can easily disannex my property and still maintain physical and logical borders. My property is not a part of the Wildwood subdivision, so once my property is disannexed, the boundary of the subdivision would also be the border of the city. In the handout there, you can see the Wildwood Estate plats on page 3 that I've included. The remaining property of the subdivision will still be within the city limits, making the subdivision a natural border. The other unplatted property adjacent to Wildwoods Estates was disannexed on January 9, 2012, which is one of the properties that I mentioned above. The disannexation of my land will also not affect potential growth and development. The land that borders mine belongs to the city of Reno, therefore Paris cannot grow in that direction. You can also see that on page 4. There's a city of Reno map provided. In addition, this area is zoned agriculture. You can see that on the zoning map on page 5. And there's a power line easement directly behind my property. You can see that on the aerial map on page 6. These factors indicate that the city cannot grow in this area, and disannexing my property will not significantly affect the current or potential tax base for the city. My property does not look like the city where I currently live, feel like the city, or have the same municipal services. It does look, feel, and have the same services as the properties disannexed in 2012. My property consists of 2 tracts of land, will not make a hole in the existing city limits, and will not island any other property. Because of the precedent set at the time when my request was submitted, the fact that it meets the requirements for disannexation, and the fact that it will in no way be detrimental to the city's growth and development, I ask for you to consider my land individually and allow it to be disannexed from the city. I own property within the city and appreciate my relationship with the city concerning that property. For my property on the border of the city, I prefer to maintain a relationship with the county. I can receive all needed services from them. Currently, I have already waited 10 months since submitting my disannexation request. I appreciate your consideration and hope that you will direct the city to move forward in the disannexation of my property. With that being said, there was an article that was posted on eParis today that, if accurately quoting the city manager, pointed out some deficiencies that he thought my property had, and one of those was that if it were allowed out, that it would be a county property bordering a city street. And I'd just like to point out that that exists in the city, especially in the subdivision of the Hills. It currently exists. And I have requested multiple tracts of land to be disannexed, not just a single parcel. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Sean, can you point out on this map where are the other properties which were disannexed last year that he's talking about? Okay. Yeah, I saw that. Mr. Godwin.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to explain?
No, just certainly everything he said was exactly accurate. It is a unique property in that it's the end of a street. It is not part of the subdivision, however. It is, just as he says, on the border of the city. So it's not one that if you decided to disannex would be a horrible mistake, or that staff would argue vehemently against. It is a single property, and typically we don't want to do a single property, whether it's more than one parcel or not. And you always have the possibility, and the reason you do annexations to begin with, I presume that's the reason this one was done, obviously I wasn't here when it was annexed, is that if it's not annexed, it's not zoned, and therefore you don't know what could happen there at some point in the future. But I think for the most part, Although staff's preference would be to not disannex it, we're also somewhat ambivalent about it. I don't think it's an error to do so either way on this property.
Okay, I have a question on this. If you look at this map,
Sir?
where Dr. Spencer's property is,
Yes.
what is next to this? What is right here?
It's another lot, I think it's an undeveloped lot right next door. Dr. Spencer, I don't know. Right next door is an unbuilt lot, isn't it? Right next door to yours?
Which direction are
Right
we going?
There?
Yes, that is an undeveloped lot.
Okay.
That is part of the subdivision of Wildwood Estates. Someone had asked about the property that had been previously disannexed. It's just to the right of the green and the blue properties that are highlighted there.
Right here?
That's the one that I referred to as January the 9th, 2012.
Okay, my next question would be that this property which is right next to him, next thing, if you know that if they ask for disannexation, what do you do with that?
I think we would recommend against that because it is in fact part of that subdivision.
Okay.
Again, obviously it depends on your perspective, but there is a difference. And one of the points he's made is that he's different from everybody else. Not you. Your property is different because it's not part of that subdivision. If you go in there, you assume it is, but it's really not.
Okay. Mr. Wright?
No questions.
Mr. Jenkins?
I have no questions right now.
Ms. Lancaster?
None at this time.
Ms. Drake?
No.
How does the council want to proceed with this? Do you want to disannex? Do you not want to disannex? Let's start with,
I'm, myself personally, I'm in favor of approving the de-annexation. He's been waiting for a long time, and this property came before the council before we had looked at
at the ordinance?
Thank you. I just went blank for a minute. An ordinance, and since it does not affect that subdivision and it's sort of a unique thing, my recommendation is to, on this one, to allow it.
Ms. Lancaster?
Well, I sort of feel the same way that she is, and that on this particular case, because it's sort of just unique.
Okay. Mr. Jenkins, how would you like to vote?
I think we should do this action. He's in the area where he's not
Mr. Wright?
gonna work.
It is unique.
I think we've all agreed to that.
Okay. Well,
I would say the process is that if you wish to, we'll call the public hearing.
Yeah.
You'll conduct that process through the public hearings, and of course, that gives you an opportunity to take feedback and
Right.
make a final decision.
okay. I'm going to say my two words. I'm not in favor of any disannexation. However, I do agree that this is a little different. And I think the one thing that I would say is that he had applied way before. And not that way before makes a whole lot of difference, because whatever the policy the council sets is what the policy sets. But if it is not going to affect anything else around, and if the city manager feels that it's okay, I will go along with that.
I feel much the same way.
Okay, so I'll take a motion on this item.
It's not actually listed as an action item.
Right.
Okay.
But what I'm hearing is we'll put
That
it
we'll
on.
put it on the agenda.
Agenda for,
Janice will advertise it, we'll put it on
Okay.
on the first agenda possible.
thank you very much. All right, next. You know what, I forgot to take item 26 and 27 off the table, so first I'll take a motion again to take those items off the table.
I make a motion that we take those off.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? No. Item number 26 is,
Do we need to bring them back? These two?
no,
Okay.
no, we don't.
Oh, okay.
They're all involved in this
Oh, okay.
rest of it, so we don't.
Okay.
Discuss and provide direction to city staff on an application for disannexation filed by David and Brenda Dennison. I've already made the motion on this. So, Mr. Godwin, would you like to explain this?
This one is, and again, the same map, the Dennison property actually is part of the subdivision. And in fact, if it were disannexed, the Wilcox property, which is shown in green, would be disconnected from the remainder of the city. So because of your existing policy and also because of just, we think, good planning, that we would recommend against this particular disannexation.
Ms. Drake?
I agree.
Ms. Lancaster?
I agree.
Yes,
Mr. Wright?
Yeah.
I'll agree with that too. But having said that, I think the gentleman addressed that we need to have some sort of a plan of providing services.
Services to it.
So,
I agree on that also.
yeah. Item number 27 is discuss and provide direction to city staff on an application for disannexation filed by Boyd and Deborah Hudgens. I've already taken it off the table, so Mr. Godwin, would you like to explain?
Yes, sir. Originally, this was an application that came in last spring, I think. And at that point, and I'll show you a map for this one as well, this property is located on Airport Road. And at that point, it would have been, if it were disannexed, it would have, and it's one of these in the middle, maybe this one?
I think it's
To
18.
the left, this one. Okay. It would have created a hole. And at that point, although we didn't get to that point, we would have recommended against. Since then, just in the last week or two, we've received 22 additional applications, which is what item number 28 is, for disannexation. And those are the ones in blue. So that has changed, at least the discussion. I think, again, in the case of the original request that we got last spring, our thought would have been just about like it was with the Denison property that you just talked about. This obviously, because of the size, becomes more complicated. It does go back to, for the residents out there, it goes back to service. And of course, that's something that we talked about this evening. We've been talking about for several months now, the possibility of developing the airport, the need for infrastructure out there. The one thing on these, and I'm talking about number 28 here, really more than 27, because I think they're all part of a group, obviously.
But then why don't I add 28 to this?
Yes.
And item 28 is discuss and provide direction to city staff on application for disannexation filed September 6, 2013 by following applicant: Boyd and Deborah Hudgens, DFW Vending, Odessa King, Charles W. Keys, Charles W. Ellie, Patrick and Selena DeVos, Larry and Patsy Smith, Imogen Wilson, Eldon Wayne and Patricia Chapman, Vernon J. Wilson, Todd Worthy and Peggy Wilson, Peggy Worthy Wilson, William Whitus, Randus Whitus, Randall Seabolt, Beverly D. Moore, James Russell, Cleve and Sharon Findley, Larry M. Smith and Patsy Smith, Larry M. Smith and Patsy Smith again, Ann Huffman, Billy J. Coe and Mary Lou Coe, Joey and Vicky Humphreys, Alan Parks, and John Cody Woodard and Laurie Woodard. So now you can address both the issues.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. As you can see from this, if you were to disannex certain parcels, certain pieces, certain properties, it would have a ripple effect in, for example, if these properties were disannexed, and the red line is the city limits, and the airport's here on the far right. If you were to disannex those properties, and all of these green properties, including the airport, would be disconnected. All the other blue properties to the right would be disconnected, to the east would also be disconnected. So that's, certainly very problematic, unless it was your intention to do that, we'd certainly recommend against it. And if you were to do some properties over here, you would have some potential inconsistencies if you did some and not others. And also there's combinations over here on the right or on the east side that could also disconnect other properties, especially the airport itself and then this property up here at the top right. We looked at kind of staff-wise, argued amongst ourselves, played devil advocate, so to speak, that, are there properties that are different, or are there properties we would recommend for or against? Again, we're working under the assumption that these were legitimate annexations and that the council at the time in 98, 99, I think, did this for a specific purpose. And we understand that some of the services, specifically utility services, have not been provided out there by the city. Water is provided by Lamar County. Sewer service has not been provided by anyone at this point. Bottom line, after much discussion, we don't recommend in favor of disannexation for any of the properties on these requests.
Thank you. I'll start with this one. I'm not in favor of this disannexation. However, I would like to say that at the earliest, facilities need to be made to the residents of that area. Whatever the cost might be involved, is that these people need to be provided service if they are to be kept in the city. And so what Sean has come up with, I would bring it back to the council as an urgent issue to be dealt with providing water and sewer lines in that area. And that will not only help these residents, but will also help develop the airport property, and that's what I would like to say. Mr. Wright.
I fully agree with that. I think if they're going to be taxed as citizens with their property, that they should get the services. And I would encourage it to be done as quickly as possible.
Mr. Jenkins.
I agree, everything's the same.
Ms. Lancaster?
I agree with
I definitely agree, because if we disannex some and we didn't some, it's going to be a nightmare for police and fire and EMS as to who responds, who didn't respond. We don't want to get into that, especially with the police and the sheriff's department, has jurisdiction. And I like the fact of the plan that Sean has come up with, and that we need to go full speed.
Thank you. And what I'd like to add is, in our bond, we have the language available for us to be able to use those funds. Though, as much as possible, we were trying to finish the work that we had, to the replacement work, but I think the bond language is such that it does allow us, and I think once the whole council sits down and, when Matt and Mr. Grossnickel are back here on the council seat, we can put it as an agenda item and discuss it and try to bring it back so that an early development process and of services to be provided in those areas, as well as redevelopment of the airport, and Ms. Lancaster is going to work on it, will be brought forth so that these services are provided to the area residents in that area, so that they don't feel neglected and they don't feel cheated out of city services.
And there's a lot of property owners out in that area that will benefit from this, I believe.
This is not a motion item, is it?
No, sir.
Okay, so my direction is say no. Is that the general direction?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
All right, thank you. That brings us to item 29. Now I'd ask Dr. Gross.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, are you going to open that item for discussion, number 28? You can take any other comments on that?
Sure, come on over. Sure.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Josh Northam. I'm with the firm of Bloom, Faulkner, Skeen, and Northam here on the corner of 36 Clarksville, and I represent the Hudgens on this issue of their disannexation, and I appreciate the council giving me a moment to speak. I would just say, as a matter of hopefully helping the council on this issue, I was approached by the Hudgens and others in that community about the disannexation issue, and it seems to me that the problem that the council is attempting to address, and it sounds like from Mr. Napier's discussion here earlier, that's what they're attempting to do, is that you have a plan to bring the services to the citizens out there that have not been previously provided. I think just as a matter of discussion for the council, the problem that the Hudgens have expressed and that they actually sought my help with was getting in front of the council. We had sent a letter to Your Honor and to the city manager asking for comment 10 days ago and never got a response. And I think that's the frustration that y'all are seeing by these applications for disannexation. 3 or 4 different residents provided me with a service plan that they were given when this property was initially annexed. And item 2 of that service plan says specifically that immediately upon annexation, the city of Paris will begin maintenance of water and wastewater facilities, and it goes on to describe how that's going to happen. And they tell me that they're here 14 years later and that hasn't happened. You heard some discussion earlier from another citizen and taxpayer about the provisions for cable that have not been provided, but that the city has a contract for. And I think what the council is seeing with these applications is just that frustration that they've seen some land on this side and some land up above them and some land beside them be disannexed on request for no apparent reason other than the asking. And now this item was brought to the council, I understand back in March, it was tabled, and they heard nothing until August when they said, you know, hey, we're developing a plan and coming back to try to do something. So I heard the discussion earlier in the presentation about the water and sewer lines, and I think it would benefit the citizens who are paying taxes out there to know whether or not, you know, they're going to get these services and on what timeline. And I don't know what the council's preference is for planning that, but I would suggest to the council that you know, these applications could be dealt with by addressing your taxpayers and telling them what's going on instead of just tabling items and letting them sit out in the abyss. You know, Your Honor had a presentation at the beginning of the meeting here today about projects that get talked about and never followed up on and never finished. And I think that is the frustration that you're seeing by this 22 applications for disannexation, that, you know, they feel like they've been told time and again that this was going to be addressed, that the services were going to be provided. They were promised it in a service plan 14 years ago, and those haven't come. And so I would just encourage the council to continue to communicate with these taxpayers. If your recommendation is going to be no, that they not be disannexed, you know, communicate with them as tax-paying citizens of the city and let them know what's going on and when those services are going to be provided. You know, I don't think anybody has any interest in you know, filing a lawsuit or coming down and fighting with the council. And so we would just ask that you do that, communicate with them so that you know, they are being treated equally as other taxpayers in the city.
I didn't catch your name, first of all.
It's Josh Northam.
Mr. Northam?
Yes, sir.
I want to say one thing and clarify, first of all.
Yes, sir.
Every email that Mrs. Hudgens had sent to me,
yes, sir,
was responded to. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So to say that I didn't respond to the email is a very incorrect statement, which reflects to me that you have not seen all of her emails that she has sent to me. Let me finish now.
Sure.
So that's number one. Number two, the only time which I have stopped responding to her is after you were hired and we were advised by the city attorney that further communications will be through the city attorney and not individually by the city attorney, which is why the last one was not responded to. Mrs. Hudgens called me day before, yesterday, well, whatever day it was in the last day or so, and asked me the question as to what she did. I called her back and responded to her question. As to what she should do further, I did not give her advice because that was the instructions of the city attorney. So that's answer number one. Number two, so to say that we are not in communication is a very wrong statement. We have communicated throughout. Now, I agree that I feel very bad about the fact that Mrs. Hudgens and others have not been provided services. We were not on the council, and this is not an excuse by any means. It should have been done, and it will be done. I cannot provide you today with a timeline. There are certain factors that have to be taken into account, but if there was any time to do these services, it is now. We have the money to do it, and we will put in an all-conscious effort towards providing these services to those people. So they are not being neglected by any means. This is one of our priorities, which is why we sat down and went through this whole rigmarole of trying to see how much the cost will be involved and what kind of planning needs to be done. And obviously, I do feel bad that it has gone on for months. However, there were some issues which were dealt with during this period of time. Mr. Efrasi was doing a disannexation and annexation plan. And so, yes, there has been lag and there has been delays. But to say that we have forgotten them is a very wrong statement. We have not forgotten them at all. They're dear to us. We want to keep them in the city, and we will provide, as a council, our best efforts to provide them all the services. Now, patience is required in some of these things, so I would appreciate that, but we will try our level best as a council to address the problems.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just clarify a couple of things. First of all, I didn't say that you had not been responsive. I said
Sir, you did say that you have not responded.
Well, I said that I sent you a letter that you didn't respond to, and that is accurate.
Yeah, and there was a reason for that. And if you would like, I'll have her read the minutes back to you, what you said.
That's fine, Mr. Mayor. I just said that I sent a letter to you that was not responded to, and that was consistent with your prior presentation about things not being addressed. To the contrary, the citizens that I've talked to have told me that they feel like that this council actually has been responsive. I think they felt very comfortable with Mr. Wright's response. They felt comfortable that you were addressing these issues. But I'll also tell you that when you presented the plan here for the sewer and water lines, there were whispers all around that was the first they had heard of it. I'm just saying, I think they'd rather not spend money on me and time on me, and I don't want to pick a fight with the city. I'm from Paris. I grew up here, and I love the city of Paris, and I think that y'all are doing a great job as a council. But I think these folks could stand more communication, and I think they could stand to know what the plan is. You've told them tonight that you're going to spend $5 million on this project to bring sewer and water. I just hope that you'll continue to communicate with them so that they do feel like they're a part of the city and that the taxes that they're paying get them as much as it does everyone else within the city.
I'll clarify again, I have not said that we will, but we will try to spend, and we will try to provide them the services.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else wants to make any comments?
No, sir.
Thank you so much for coming. But if there is any communication needed, please feel I am completely open. My number is there. Feel free to call me. Feel free to call Mr. Napier and discuss what all is being planned. And it is right, they have heard it for the first time today because that's where it came. We wanted to provide the services and that's why it was brought up. But again, I extend my apologies if somebody feels that they were not communicated with. But really, we will try, it is my assurance that we will try our level best to provide the same kind of services to you people as the rest of the city does. And as well as we have discussed the fact, which I think I brought partially, that while we are waiting, if there is ways to get fire hydrants on the Lamar County water system, we'll try our best to do that so that at least some service is provided to them.
Mr. Mayor, I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to the council.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to please recall Mr. Frierson and Mr. Grossnickel back.
I make a motion to bring him back.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I oppose.
You're overruled. Where is Dr. Grossnickel and Mr. Frierson? Sure, sir. Go ahead.
I'm Charles Keys again. I want to challenge the information sheet in your packet that the city manager provided.
Which sheet is this? Page number?
Have not submitted applications for this annexation but are affected.
Can you refer us to the page?
Yes, this one right here.
So you got a number?
I don't see a number on it.
At the bottom of the page.
95?
Uh-huh.
Okay, you have stated that Coxfield would be affected by this. State law includes FM 1508 and its right-of-way to remain in the city. And there's people on this list I've never even heard of. AgPro is on the other side of the road with Coxfield. It's not on the other side of the road. Mary White has passed away. Donna Johnson, that is Robert Gibson's daughter, and he died about 2 weeks ago. And if he was alive, I guarantee you he would be here. The Fuller Williams, those people I've never heard of. Chambliss, I've never heard of. The city of Paris should not be included in this, the airport. Clifford, James Clifford, his property. Mr. Eric Clifford, the former mayor, was his son, is his son, and he's bragged about what he did to us in 1999 and 1998. Mr. Hamidi there, he just failed to get his paperwork in, but he was on board. Costin and Son Investments, their pasture land out there in the back of nowhere. And I don't know who this Ford Marion is here. Apparently, they're on Old Clarksville Road. That has nothing to do with what we're asking to be disannexed. So I want to make those challenges to what the city manager has said.
Thank you. We'll try to talk to him. And did Dr. Grossnickel and Mr. Frierson decide to leave?
No, they were waiting until he got finished.
You thought about it. All right. Item number 29, consider approve future events for City Council and City staff pursuant to Resolution number 2004-081. Janice?
I would
Mr.
just
Godwin,
say
what-
there's to remind everyone of the Red River Valley Fair this week.
Right.
Okay.
There may be several of us out there, not me, but several other people out there.
Ms. Drake, is there any significance of that foot in front of you?
Yes, we have a mayor with a warped sense of humor. But thank you. For you guys that do not know, I fractured my foot yesterday, and the mayor thought it would be nice to give me a Goodwill cake and an extra foot. So please come up and enjoy the cake after council meeting, please.
Mr. Frierson, your favorite item?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned.